Silence, the power of quiet in a world full of noise. I know, such a great title. The power of quiet in a world full of noise. Isn't that true? All right, from Thich Nhat Han. Do you have a picture there, Jamie, of Martin Luther King? Let's take a look at that. You know, Martin Luther King was a peacemaker, and there, isn't that precious? And Thich Nhat Han, both of these wonderful souls were peacemakers, are peacemakers, and I'm sure from the other side they're continuing on with their peaceful ways, but here they are together bringing their heartfelt everything godness into the world where there's so much noise, so much despair and suffering and unrest, especially now as we look around with this corona thing going on, right? So here's what Thich Nhat Han has to say about happiness and quietness, peacefulness and mindfulness. He says from his book, "We spend a lot of time looking for happiness when the world right around us is full of wonder." And you know, I've said this before about when my beloved late husband passed, when in his final days, he said to me, "You know, I wish I would have taken more time to smell the flowers and to just see the wonder, because the world, when we are in our right mind, aligned with the love within us," there it is, thanks, Jane, then what happens is that we see the wonder and the beauty and the glory in the world of phenomena. You know, when you go outside first thing in the morning, or you get up first thing in the morning, just to open your eyes and see the good, to see the beauty, and to feel the prayer of your heart that says, God is, I am, all is well. The world is full of wonder when I am in my right mind with God. To be alive and to walk on earth is a miracle. And a miracle is a change of mind where you are, you know, you're no longer in wrong-mindedness where everything is a headache and a heartache. You have shifted your perception from fear to love where miracles abound. And so our beautiful brother Thich Nhat Han says, yes, to be alive and walk on earth is a miracle. And yet most of us are running as if there were somewhere better, a better place to go. Can you relate? How you're not fully present. You're not in the moment. You're not devouring every moment that you breathe into and breathe out of. And you're running around looking for something else. Yes, mindful living, no birth, no death, only journey. That's beautiful. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, that's beautiful. And so there it is, you know, he says we're running around as if there's some better place to get to, but there is beauty calling to us every day, every hour, but we are rarely in a position to listen. How sweet is that? If we could just calm down, if we could just be still in the silence and watch, observe and witness and look around us and see only good and see the unfolding presence of God in everything. How wonderful is that? How wonderful would you feel? The basic condition for us to be able to hear the call of beauty and respond to it is silence. If we don't have silence in ourselves, if our mind, our body are full of noise, then we can't hear beauty's call. Isn't that a wonderful sentence? I'd just think that is so profound. If we don't have silence within ourselves, and really, God is an experience. And when you experience love, peace, joy, really, there are no words. There's only silence. It's just a full embodiment of the presence of God, the presence of beauty, the presence of love in every moment. How to put that into words? Words are so limiting. But the experience of God, of love, of beauty, comes from silence. There's a radio playing in our head. Radio station NST, nonstop thinking. The spin of the mind. The thoughts are coming and going, and you're latching on to the thoughts, making those thoughts real, when in truth thoughts are not real. Thoughts have no meaning. Thoughts are meaningless. But we attach to the thoughts, and the thoughts become more thoughts, and we spin in this ball of confusion, feeling lost and afraid, far from the beauty, far from the love, far from the presence of God in the spin. And yet there love and beauty sits. There is the presence of God sitting, waiting for your return. Our mind is filled with noise, and that's why we can't hear the call of life. Constant thoughts. We're analyzing, we're comparing, we're jumping from here to there, looking and seeking. We're trying to make sense out of a world that you can't make sense out of because it is a dream world. It doesn't exist. We can't hear the call of life, the call of love, because our mind is rocking and rolling with nonstop thoughts. Our heart is calling us, but we don't hear. We don't have the time to listen to our heart. Oh my God. Can you relate to that? No time for that. No time to just be still and listen to our feelings, to the desires of our heart. What's really calling me? What's really there in my heart? I don't know because I am so busy. I don't have time to get in touch with my heart because I'm busy in the dream world. Can you relate? Mindfulness is the practice that quiets the noise inside us. Mindfulness. Practicing the presence. Mindfulness. Without mindfulness, we can be pulled away by many things. It is so true. I remember with my late husband living in Seattle, and often we would go to the Korean temple, the Buddhist temple, and we would all sit down on the floor at this table, long table, and the monks would join, and the bell would ring, and we would sit and we would eat, and we wouldn't talk, and we wouldn't do anything but be in the moment of our eating, enjoying the food and tasting the loveliness of the savory spices, and being present to the textures of the food that we were putting into our mouths, and feeling the gratitude for the elements that grew the food, the sun, that made photosynthesis possible for the beautiful spinach, and the Mother Earth who brought forth the plants from her seeds. And in that mindful eating, there were such treasures to be found. Treasures of gratefulness, thankfulness for absolutely everything. As I chewed every bite, mindful eating, no talking, mindful eating. What a wonderful practice. And then we would do the dishes, and there was no talking. There was just doing the dishes, picking up the teacup and putting the cloth or the sponge into the cup, feeling the texture of the sponge in my hands and the feel of the bubbles from the soap and the smell and the fragrance of the dish detergent as I washed every cup and plate and spoon. Present to what was happening, present to the moment, practicing mindfulness in the silence. Sometimes we are pulled away by regret and sorrow concerning the past. Do you ever do that? You think about something that you did or something that you said from that timeline, that past, and then you get caught up in it and you start to think about it and you mull it over and over in your mind, wishing you would have said it differently, wishing you could have showed up differently. Not being mindful that you are here now in the presence of God. That presence is in your heart, right here, right now. And that love is all encompassing. But when I choose to get caught up in my past, my mind begins to spin again. We revisit old memories and experiences only to suffer again and again and again. Why do we do that? Because we have an investment in fear. That's why we do that. We're so afraid of the light. We're so afraid of the beauty in our soul. And so we continuously put all our energy, our investments in fear, and the only return we get on those investments in fear is more fear. And so around we go, suffering. Again, the pain that we've already experienced. You experienced that pain of whatever it is you did when you were 22 or 45. You already experienced that pain. Why do you put yourself back there to re-experience that pain again? It's easy to get caught in the prison of the past, and it is a prison. Just ask anybody who's addicted. And you know, all of us have addictions to something. Food, maybe alcohol, TV, drugs, whatever it is. It's a prison. And we keep going back there to revisit that pain. And we do it because we still have an investment in the ego's thought system. We may also get pulled away by the future. Oh my goodness, thinking about next week or that meeting that you have coming up, or that conversation that you have been avoiding. Do you have any of those? You need to talk to someone about something tomorrow, and you're worried about it in the moment. Not practicing mindfulness is suffering. A person who is anxious and fearful about the future is trapped just as much as one bound by the past. Why? Because that linear timeline, the past and the future, are where it is how the ego keeps you trapped in the belief that you are a body, limited and finite, and that there's nothing else but you as a separate self, the made-up self. And only a made-up self would be worried about the future. Only a made-up self would be worried about the past, about what you did. A separate self is doing the worrying, and that self doesn't even exist. Anxiety, fear, and uncertainty about future events prevent us from hearing the call of happiness. Just like our lesson, God is happiness, but we can't hear it when we are not present to the moment, when we are not mindful, bringing our conscious awareness to what we are doing, what we are thinking, who we are being, what we are saying. And if we are not present, where are you? If you're not here, using your five senses on behalf of the Spirit, then where are you? Jesus tells us in the Course that you are nowhere. Everywhere, everything, love is where you are in truth. But when you decide not to be in the present moment, accepting the atonement for yourself, having your perception corrected by the Holy Spirit or Jesus or Buddha, whoever it is that you work with on that level, then you are nowhere, believing you're somewhere, but you are in the dream world, suffering. So the future becomes a kind of prison too. Even if we try to be in the present moment, many of us are distracted and feel empty, as if we had a vacuum inside. We may long for something, expect something, wait for something to arrive to make our lives a little bit more exciting. Do you ever do that? Where you think you have no power in your life, and that you just are waiting for external circumstances or a situation to change so that you can feel full, you can feel happy. It's somehow when this changes, if I get the raise, if I get the new job, if I get to move my house, if I get to be here or there, I'll be happy. Anticipating something that will change the situation. It's like, I'm miserable, I feel separate from God, I feel angry about the past, anticipating the future, but I know I'll be okay when that something comes. When that thing in the future comes into my life that I've been anticipating and waiting for, I'll just sit here and stay miserable until that comes, and then I'll be happy. Do you ever do that? I can't be happy now because I don't have that thing that I'm anticipating. Think about that. That's a good one. And the truth is, nothing in this world will make you happy. Nothing. Temporarily, maybe. But nothing here can make you happy because nothing here is real. Only that which never changes is real. Love, peace, joy, happiness, all of it. And yet we are not to deny the world. There's beauty in the world. We will be in the world and not of the world when we practice mindfulness. and being present to every moment, feeling the joy, looking at the beauty that abounds around us, the sounds of the birds. Have you ever done that? Just sit and listen to the sound of the birds. Just go outside and look at the clouds in the sky. Just focus on something wonderful. Look at it with wonder. We don't have to wait for something to show up to be happy. We just have to appreciate what already is. God is beauty. God is wonder. God is love and joy and peace. So if you're waiting for that certain thing to happen and you think that that thing is going to bring you happiness, it's not, because the problem is in the mind. Your mind is not at one with God. You believe you're separate, so you have a perceptual problem and you're seeing everything through the ego's filter. And so how can you be happy? Even if you get that thing that you're waiting for, you still won't be happy because you haven't changed your mind about who you think and say you are. I am what God made. I am. God is. All is well. Okay, so then he says, we anticipate something that will change the situation because we see the situation in the present moment as boring. Have you said that lately? I'm bored. This is boring. This is nothing special, nothing interesting. Do you see the ego, how tricky it is? It would have you believe that this present moment is boring. Remember, the ego wants to keep you mindless. What does that mean? It wants to make sure that you never realize that you are the observer. Imagine you are the fulcrum point. There's love and fear, and you are the observer, you are the witness, the silent witness, you are the decision maker, and in every moment, the power of your mind is to choose love, or you're going to follow fear. Fear is a habit. Yeah. So the ego doesn't want us to wake up to the power of our mind, to the power of choice, of choosing. No way. So it'll tell you, this is boring. Why even bother? I hate my life. I can't wait for this pandemic to be over. Then I'll be happy. Right? Oh, I just can't wait for this to happen or that to happen. That's how tricky the ego is. But the practice of mindfulness keeps you in the presence of God, of love, of abundance, of peace and joy and harmony. You are in heaven. Heaven is harmony. And you are in a vibrational frequency that is not of this world. And the gorgeous thing about that is everything that is a perfect match to the thoughts you hold, to the state of being that you're in, will come to you. So that it's not like you're denying the world. You're denying the power of the ego over your mind. You're denying that nothing has power over. You're saying, I am the only power there is because God is in my mind. It's so amazing. And we get there by practicing mindfulness, being present. Mindfulness is often described as a bell that reminds us to stop and silently listen. And I can relate to that because at this temple we used to go to all the time, the monk would ring the bell. And so it brought the mind back into the present because we are so unconscious, right? The mind just rolls along and you know, when that silent witness is not conscious of that, well, you will be everywhere but in the moment. So as we were having our meal at the Buddhist temple and we were, you know, enjoying the flavors and textures of the food, my mind would wander into, well, I wonder what we'll do after this. I wonder if we will go to the park this afternoon and feed the ducks. The mind, it just gets away on you, and you don't even know it. It's so unconscious, isn't it? It just rolls along. But practicing mindfulness, it would bring, the monk would ring the bell, like this little ding here, just a little ding, and I would come back to practicing the moment, being mindful of what I was doing and enjoying, and using all my 5 senses to be fully in the moment. So try that. Just, have a little bell, something to remind you that you're wandering, mind wandering. Jesus talks about that in the Course. He said, oh my God, you're far too lenient. You're far too lenient of mind wandering. It's practicing the presence. That's where the Holy Grail is, in the moment. So we can actually use a bell or any other cue that helps us remember not to be carried away by the noise around and inside us. When we hear the bell, we stop. Maybe your mind was wandering as I'm talking. And now with the bell being rung, you come back to the moment where you practice listening, deep listening, being present. Being present is the key to happiness. When we hear the bell, we stop and we follow our in-breath and our out-breath. Making space for silence, we say to ourselves, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing in and out mindfully, paying attention only to the breath. We can quiet all the noise within us by mindfully breathing. All the noise goes away and you empty the mind and you're focused only on the breath, and peace and calm roll over your body like a wave of joy. The chattering about the past goes away, the future, and the longing for something more. And in these times, people are longing for something more. But I would have to say that I feel that this pandemic is a blessing in a way that it's bringing us into the practice of mindfulness, isn't it? Because you can't change the world. There's nothing you can do. If we go back and think about what was happening pre-pandemic time, people were so caught up. Everything was going at lightning speed. Can you remember that? And I remember saying, oh, it feels like things are getting out of control. Things just felt really wonky to me. And we had our so-called freedom and everything else, but you could feel, at least I could feel, this speed up, like something was coming. And when the pandemic hit, I remember, everyone putting on the mask and then thinking, well, in 3 weeks it'll all be over and blah, blah, blah. And here we are at the beginning of our 3rd year of dealing with this pandemic. But as I look back over the months, what has happened for me is that the pandemic has offered me an opportunity to practice mindfulness, more being present to what is happening in my moments to moment. Really, can you relate to that? I mean, of course, in my humanness, we all do it, get caught up and oh my God, what's next and blah, blah, blah. But really, when I really think about it, this pandemic, I have been more peaceful, more calm, more during these last 2 years. It's just I feel so present, so available. I am available to you, God, because there's nothing else. And I really think it's a blessing for us to practice mindfulness, for us to practice being present, that the presence of God is within us and we don't have anything to really worry about. I mean, there's nothing you could do about anything. So what a wonderful opportunity to practice the presence and mindfulness, being mindful, fully embodying every moment and getting the juiciness out of life. And the more we practice that, the more peace we have, the more calm we have, the more harmonized we are with everything in the world. And the eyes shift. The eye of perception, it shifts, and your perception becomes healed because you are present to the presence of love within. And that presence of love within you looks out into the world and sees itself. It sees itself as beauty in a flower. It sees itself as a songbird. It sees itself as a banana growing on a tree in my backyard. It sees 22 little solo papayas hanging from my papaya tree and smiles with glee at itself. So my body becomes a wonderful communication device. And I allow life to come through me, and I allow it to see itself, and I allow it to speak to itself, and I allow it to use my hands and to use my legs to walk on earth on behalf of it. That's the practice, and it's wonderful. And then we have days where we don't because we forget. But it's in our forgetting that we remember more to be present and to be mindful, that we need to bring our be conscious of where I am, right here, right now. So fantastic. In just 2 or 3 seconds of mindful breathing, we can awaken to the fact that we are alive. Oh, yes. Praise God. We are alive. Just breathe in love and breathe out love. In just a couple of seconds, we become present to truth. I am alive. We are breathing in. We are here. We exist. We exist. We are in the world. We are not of the world, but we are enjoying the world of phenomena because we are allowing the presence to use us, and we are available in every moment because we are here in the moment. The noise within just disappears, and there is a profound spaciousness. Yes, when the mind is empty, it is filled with light. When you're no longer thinking, and spinning because of your practice of mindfulness, because of your practice of bringing your consciousness, your conscious self, right here, right now, the spaciousness opens. It's like you're saying to God, I'm here, God. I'm available. Use me. Use me. I'm present. This spaciousness is very powerful. It's very elegant, very eloquent. It's true. God is elegant. God is eloquent. God is grandeur. And when I'm open and just being in every moment, mindfully being present to the presence within, then I am aware that where I am, God is. And God is never absent. Love is never absent. Peace is never absent. Calm and harmony of thought is never absent because I am present. We can respond to the call of the beauty around us. I am here. I am free. And I hear you. I am here. I am free. And I hear you. Jesus would say, in that presence, you hear guidance coming from the Spirit, the light in your right mind and God. You will be told where to go. You will be told what to say. You will be told what to do. I am free. I hear you. What does I am here mean? It means I exist, not this made-up self, not the self-concept that you believe you are, not that. I exist. I'm really here because I'm not lost in the past. I'm not in the future. The I, that observer, that presence, is here now, in this moment. And you are mindfully, consciously aware that I exist. Have you ever had the awareness of yourself? You're aware of yourself doing something. That's so wonderful. It's almost like the body is brushing its teeth, and there's an energy that's coming through the body to brush the teeth, but you are observing it without any attachment. It's like you are completely and totally aware that you are the observer, observing yourself mindfully brushing your teeth. It's so interesting. Okay. I am not lost in the past, in the future, in my thinking, or in the noise inside, in the noise outside. I am here. I am that I am. In order to really be what God made, you have to be free from the thinking, free from anxieties. It's only when we think that we have anxiety. Have you ever thought so much you get a headache? The mind is spinning and thinking and you're anxious. Next time you feel stressed or you have anxiety, it's because you are thinking. Empty. Get into the moment. Empty. And say, I am here. I am free. I hear you. Because the truth is, many of us are not free. We don't believe the freedom that allows us to hear and to see and to just be. And then this is another short few paragraphs where Thich Nhat Han says, being silent together. He says, I live in a retreat center in southwest France where we practice a kind of silence called noble silence. Noble silence. The practice is easy. If we are talking, we are talking. But if we are doing something else, such as eating, walking, or working, then we do just those things. We aren't doing these things and also talking. So we do these things in joyful, noble silence. In this way, we are free to hear the deepest call of our hearts. Recently, there was a day when a lot of us, both monastics and lay people, were having lunch together outside, sitting on the grass. All of us went to serve ourselves and then joined the group to sit down. We sat in concentric circles, one small circle within a larger circle, and then another, still larger circle. We didn't say anything. I was the first to sit down. I sat and practiced mindful breathing to establish silence in myself. I listened to the birds, to the wind, and enjoyed the beauty of spring. I wasn't waiting for others to come and sit down so I could begin eating. I just enjoyed sitting there for about 20 minutes or more, while other people served themselves and came and sat down. There was silence, but I felt that silence was not as deep as it could have been. Perhaps because people had been distracted while getting their food, walking as they held their plates, and then sitting down. I sat in the silence and observed this. That is such a great practice.